Beneath the polished marble floors of St. Peter's Basilica lies a maze of iron and concrete. Stretching out for 53 miles, this subterranean labyrinth holds thousands of shelves, stacked with volumes dating back over 1,000 years. And unless you have explicit, high-level clearance from the Holy See, you are strictly forbidden from taking a single step inside. Ask the Vatican what they're guarding, and the answer sounds entirely routine. They claim this sprawling vault is simply a working storage facility designed to preserve 12 centuries of dry papal paperwork, diplomatic letters, and administrative records. But look closer at the actual facility, and the story begins to fray. You don't build two-story, underground, fireproof bunkers of reinforced concrete to house boring administrative files. You don't guard tax records with military-grade access control and absolute silence. The tiny fraction of scholars granted entry each year face a vetting process that borders on paranoia. They are watched constantly, prohibited from taking photographs, and strictly monitored by staff. The extreme disproportion between the Church's claims and the fortress-like measures used to lock them down creates an inescapable logical vacuum. The security suggests the Vatican is protecting something much more disruptive than routine correspondence. Even for the handful of researchers who make it through the doors, the restrictions tighten further. Scholars are forbidden from wandering the aisles to browse the collection. Instead, they must submit a request for a specific file, using its exact name before they even cross the threshold. This is known as the one-document rule. It creates a perfectly sealed bureaucratic loop. If a researcher wants to study something, they have to know it already exists. It's mathematically impossible to stumble upon new evidence when the system requires knowing exactly what you're looking for. Any document omitted from the public index is effectively erased from reality. These bureaucratic layers act as a firewall, managing which fragments reach public consciousness. As a result, thousands of these suppressed documents sit exactly as they were sealed over a millennium ago. Their dense Latin text remains untranslated, their thick red wax seals unbroken by any modern historian. The Vatican's elaborate bureaucracy functions as a selective lens. By restricting access to the catalog itself, the Church maintains total control over which version of history we are allowed to believe. Beyond the administrative files, in the most heavily restricted sectors of the vault, lie documents that threaten the foundation of the Church itself. Whispers among academics suggest these shelves hold alternate, suppressed gospels. These ancient texts reportedly contain accounts from the earliest followers of Christ, including specific details about a potential blood lineage, a family left behind before the crucifixion, and teachings that contradict the doctrine cemented at the Council of Nicaea. The archive is also said to absorb the secrets of those the Church destroyed. When groups like the Knights Templar were violently disbanded, their expansive libraries of theological anomalies didn't just burn, they were confiscated and quietly locked away. But the cover-up extends far beyond Christian history. Deep within the Vatican's possession are alleged to be untranslated Sumerian texts detailing the Anunnaki, accounts written thousands of years before the Bible. These cuneiform carvings record a very different Genesis. They describe a period where extraterrestrial beings arrived on Earth and directly manipulated human DNA, engineering civilization long before the supposed 6 days of divine creation. Releasing these foundational texts would immediately challenge the Church's exclusive claim to absolute truth. It would force humanity to rewrite both the origins of religion and our own biological history. Paper and parchment are only part of the equation. The deepest, most fortified rooms of the archive allegedly protect physical artifacts, objects that directly defy mainstream science. According to reports from researchers in the late 1990s, teams excavating the oldest subterranean levels discovered remains with small faces and highly elongated skulls. When extraterrestrial rumors leaked, the researchers vanished and findings were classified. Then there is the infamous chronovisor. Developed by a Vatican priest and renowned scientists in the mid-20th century, this device reportedly captures electromagnetic radiation left behind by past events, allowing the user to view history as it actually happened. An instrument that can observe the past, or skulls that prove we are not alone in the universe, represent a massive existential threat. They provide empirical proof that would subject deeply held faith-based narratives to brutal, literal scrutiny. Items like these turn the archive into a quarantine zone. The Church acts as a gatekeeper, shielding the outside world from evidence that contradicts the official story of the human race. To understand why a religious institution hoards this volume of classified data, we have to look at the groups exerting control over the facility itself. Conspiracy theorists point to the Vatican operating as a central stronghold for the Illuminati to manage global knowledge. From this perspective, the archive functions as a timeline weapon. By systematically highlighting, erasing, and extracting the pieces of evidence that don't fit the desired narrative, they artificially engineer the accepted history of human evolution. A full release of these records would provide enough physical and textual evidence to force a total rewrite of our historical and religious records. The version of history we are taught in school exists only because the contradictory data remains in a vault. An institution built on divine authority should find strength in transparency. Maintaining this level of restriction suggests the Church fears these documents would undermine the very narrative they have spent centuries maintaining. If they truly have nothing to hide down there, why is it guarded like a military fortress? What truth is buried in the dark? Drop your theories in the comments below, and let us know what you think is really waiting on those 53 miles of shelves.